President Biden meeting with U.S. allies today at the NATO Leaders Summit in Brussels. He's scheduled to speak in the next hour. All of this ahead of his big one-on-one meeting with Vladimir Putin on Wednesday. Eamon Javers is live from Geneva with the latest for us. Eamon?
Yeah, hi, Kelly. Take a look inside right now, the briefing room in Brussels. This is where we expect to see President Biden momentarily. Reporters are gathered there now, waiting to see what the outcome was from this meeting that he had with Turkish President Erdogan. There you see some of the video of that meeting earlier, just a short time ago. Reporters were allowed in for what they call a pool spray. It was the quickest pool spray I have ever seen. President Biden said he wasn't going to say anything in particular after that. So that raises the question of what happened in that meeting and what were the particular takeaways from it. And you can be sure that reporters in Brussels are going to ask Biden about exactly that. So many tension points in this relationship, particularly about who's buying what military hardware from which country. There's a dispute over Turkey's purchase of the Russian S-400 missiles. There's also the White House's recent recognition of the 1915 Armenian massacre as a genocide. And then, of course, there's the U.S. removal of Turkey from an F-35 weapons program. So a lot of clash points there in the relationship. We don't know exactly how long this meeting lasted. We do know exactly how long the pool spray after it lasted, and that wasn't very long at all. And now we'll wait and see what the president has to say in this press conference here a short time from now. And of course, the big event on Wednesday is the Biden-Putin summit. So many critical issues there, including cybersecurity, which is going to be a key focus of this week. And the question is whether or not President Biden can do anything to stop the Russians from these ransomware attacks that we've seen. Putin has said he doesn't bear any responsibility for it. It's nonsense to accuse the Russian government of having any involvement in that. Biden has said Putin could stop it if he wants to. The question is, other than talking points here in Geneva on Wednesday, what will the U.S. side be able to do to back Russia off of this ransomware tactic that it clearly has embraced, Kelly?
Eamon, I'd like to pick up there with a follow-up question. You know, NATO is largely a defense-oriented organization, but it is also a major bulwark and proponent of democratic norms, democratic practices. And Prime Minister President Erdogan of Turkey is anything, it seems, but a Democrat. So that is an underlying tension, is it not, with respect to the United States, the leader of NATO, and its member Turkey?
Yeah, and Tyler, that's a really good point. I was just on the phone a couple of minutes ago from here with Ambassador John Bolton, who, of course, was Donald Trump's national security advisor during the Trump administration, and he had his own difficulties with President Trump. He said the key here for Biden in meeting with Erdogan is just to keep Turkey in the alliance, NATO alliance overall, because you do point out that there is this sort of autocratic tendency in Turkey versus the democratic majority in NATO. But from a military and strategic perspective, the democracies will probably want Turkey in the alliance rather than out of the alliance, even though the Turkish government does seem to be, playing footsie, if nothing else, with the Russian government in terms of some of the weapons and some of the strategic alliances that strategic choices that they've made. So the question there is, how do you keep Turkey in when they're going in such a different direction politically, ideologically, and the like? That's the challenge for the president in this meeting that we just saw, and maybe we'll hear him momentarily explain what it was that he presented to President Erdogan.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.